right, it's the beginning of a year. If you're anything like me, everywhere I look, it's like, set your big New Year's resolutions, change your life. People are posting these long lists of what they're going to change this year. And I'm here to tell you that New Year's resolutions will fail you if you try to set them. I'm going to show you what to do instead that will radically change your life as it changed mine. I'm Natalie Hodson, and I am really excited to share this with you because I stumbled across this process years ago, and I still do it today because it works. Like, this exact system is what I used as I built a multi-million-dollar online company, as I lost 70 pounds that I gained when I was pregnant with my 10-pound babies. It's what allowed me to pay off $170,000 in student loan debt, and it works. And it's simple. You just have to follow the process. I guess I'll tell you some background on how I even figured this out. So if you're anything like me, beginning of the year, you're going to set these big goals. And you might be like, oh, I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to do all the things, right? And then what happens? Like, at the beginning, you're super excited, you're super motivated. Maybe that's actually how you feel right now. But then life happens, and our perfect plan and schedule gets messed up, and all of a sudden it's like, I didn't do this perfectly. I call it the 3 Ps: perfectionism, procrastination, paralyzation. It sucks. It's never going to serve you. And I can say that because that was me for years. And so if you're anything like me, then you get off track and you're like, oh, I'll just put it over here. Like, you don't want to look at it, kind of, you like, put it over here, and you're like, all right, when everything is in order and perfect, then I can do the thing. And then it goes on your pile of things to do, and it never happens. And then for me, it always turned into the shame cycle of, Natalie, why can't you just do the things you said you were going to do? And you're such a failure. How come you can't be like everybody else out there? And I would feel so crappy about myself. Those little voices would start coming into my head, like, who do you think you are? You seriously thought you could do these things? And then I start right back where I started. And if that process sounds familiar to you, then I'm glad you're here watching this video, because I really think that this is going to help you. I've taught this to tens of thousands of people, and it has really helped them throughout their lives. The process is really simple. In fact, I'll tell you, I'm not like most of the big motivational gurus out there. I'm not. I'm about being real and genuine and authentic. And the way that I'm going to teach you today is a little different, a lot different. It might seem a little weird at first, but if you just trust me on this and you follow this process, I think you're going to see a huge shift and a huge change. I am different than other people out there, and I'm okay with that. I only teach this because it works, and I share this with you because it's something that really changed my life. So what we're going to do is we are going to start with something that should cost you less than $10, okay? A whiteboard. Now, I love whiteboards, but I have these all over my house. I have a whiteboard in almost every room because, for me, 1, if I don't write things down, I forget, but 2, I write quotes on them, I keep calendars, but I also keep my micro goals in somewhere I can see it every single day. So order one off Amazon right now, and it should be here tomorrow or the next day. But if you don't have a whiteboard, I don't want you to not do this, because it can be perfect, okay? Remember what I talked about earlier. There's no right or wrong here. There's no perfect. In fact, if you guys have followed me for a while, you know that a constant theme, something that I talk about a lot, is any action, even if it's imperfect, is what creates momentum. And for me, I'm constantly, every single day in my life, looking for the smallest things I can do that give me that feeling of a win, that are going to give me momentum. Even if it's teeny tiny, I give myself permission to celebrate small wins, so it feels like I'm moving forward instead of going backwards or feeling stuck or feeling like a failure. And so if you don't have a whiteboard, do not stress out about that one bit. Grab a piece of printer paper off your printer. Grab an old notebook that you have. Grab a Post-it note. Use the note section in your phone, okay? Like, I just want you to follow this process, but the key thing is I want you to actually do it, okay? Like, right now, I want you to do it as you're listening to me in this video right now. I don't want you to say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it next week. It's not going to happen. Trust me, I know. I've done it a zillion times where I say I'm going to do the thing, and then I forget. I don't want that to happen to you. So even if this isn't perfect, I want you to follow along and actually do this process with me right now. What we're going to do is, I talked to you about the 3 Ps, and what happens when, you start to feel that paralyzed feeling, it's the worst feeling in the world. And for me, it feels aimless, I think is the word I'm talking about. I love being in the mountains. I love hiking. I live here in Idaho. I love being outdoors. And I kind of relate it to going for a hike, right? What if all of a sudden you're going for a hike and you're like, oh, I'm going to get to the highest peak. And you get halfway and you're like, crap, there's no way I'm going to make it there. But then you're like, well, what do I do instead? And you're like, well, I don't necessarily want to go backwards, but I don't know a different trail to take. And it can feel really aimless. It can feel disheartening. And unless you know that there's little steps that you can take, like, oh, wait, actually, I know that there's a beautiful flower meadow over here, or there's a little stream that I could maybe catch a fish in, right? And I could still have an awesome day, still feel really happy about things, and have an awesome experience. Maybe that wasn't the best analogy. Fair warning, my friends and family, this is embarrassing, they call my analogies natologies, because sometimes I just start talking and then people are like, Natalie, that analogy did not really make sense. I'm like, oh well, I was tried. All right, so let's go to our micro goals. So what I'm going to do, you guys, and fair warning, I have the handwriting of like a 5th grade boy. So if you can't read this, I apologize in advance, just listen to my words. So what you're going to do is you're going to write at the top micro goals. Okay, and then what I do is I split this into 3 different quadrants. In the past, I've tried 4, but what has worked for me is I split this into 3 quadrants. So we're gonna draw a line here, and we're gonna draw a line up here. Now over here, you're gonna write personal, okay? Over here, you're gonna write business or finance. And then down here, you're gonna write family. And so the mistake that most people make, the mistake that I used to make in the past, is that I would start trying to rack my brain of all the things I wanted to do. And then it would end up being this like this huge to-do list. And then it was unrealistic. No way could I get all those things done. And it would go into like my pile of to-do lists over here. It was unrealistic, and it would lead me to feel like I had failed again and failed again. And I just couldn't do the things I said I was going to do. And it made me feel like a failure right off the bat. And I just never could stick with it. And so I kind of stumbled along this process, and it worked. So I kept doing it. So what I do instead is I scale way back. And so I start like with the tiniest thing. And there's a reason that I do that, is because when you actually can say you're going to do something and then actually do it, I totally geek out on neuroscience. I'm not going to geek out with you guys in this video, but there's so much science that proves that the neurons in your brain will start firing differently when your brain starts to believe and trust that you're going to do the thing that you said that you're going to do. What you're going to do is you're going to pick small things, like tiny things that we're going to write down on this board. And I'm only going to let you write down 3. I'm going to go through this process with you here in a second. But what it does is, and it might, our goals are going to be different for everybody. It might be as tiny as I'm going to drink a glass of water. I am going to read 1 page in a book, right? There's no right or wrong here. Nobody is judging. In fact, I actually think the smaller the better when you start, because it's realistic. And I'll explain how that works here in a second. What we're going to do is we're going to take our quadrants. And I'm going to tell you, if you're listening right now and you're like, no, there's no way I want to do this. This sounds terrible. Like, I want to do all the things. If you'll just trust me on this process, because what I'm trying to teach you is how to unbecome the person that you've been so you can become the person that you want to be. And sometimes that means doing things that don't feel comfortable, that feel a little awkward at first, that don't necessarily go with everything we've been taught in the past. But that's how we get better. That's how we grow, is we learn from other people, is we push ourselves outside of our comfort zone, and we try things that we've never tried. What we're going to do is we're going to train your brain to learn this new system and this new process, right? And so as we write down our small goals, we're going to focus on small goals, and then I'll show you once you're done with this, we're going to do 1 week at a time, and then we're going to focus on only 1% improvements at a time. Because guess what? If you know the power of compound interest, 1% improvement consistently over time is so much better than trying to do 30% change in 1 week, because you're most likely going to fail. Why don't we go through these? You guys want to go through this exercise with me? Only allowed to write 3. I'm serious. Don't cheat and put 4 or 5 or 6 and say, oh, I can just do that too. Only do 3. And there's a method to my madness, but it's because what happens is all of a sudden you don't have all this lingering chatter in the back of your head of like, oh shoot, I said I was going to do that. I was going to do that. At the end of the week, you can evaluate this. And if you want to bump it up next week, you can do that. But this week and every week moving forward, I only want you to do 3. So let's go through personal. So for me, it was actually last year, so it's been a while, so this can't really be an excuse anymore. But I was out in the mountains of Idaho, I was hunting, and it was the night before opening day, and I'm clumsy, and I was carrying all my hunting gear, and I was trying to go to the campsite, and I didn't have my headlamp on, big mistake. And I just, you kind of just like trip. Well, I fell, and I fell blunt force on a rock, and it cut my knee open, and I probably should have gone and gotten like 12 stitches, but I didn't, because the next day was opening day, so I had a butterfly Band-Aid, and that's what I put on my knee. And so I had to take some time off of working out. And so what's been weird is I've just been struggling getting back into the groove, like feeling happy about working out. So for Christmas, I bought myself an Oculus VR headset. And let me tell you, those home workouts are so fun. I look like the biggest dork doing them. In fact, I opened it up one day. I wasn't even planning to work out. I had like a holiday sweater and pajama shorts on, and I put it on. I was like, this is so cool. it was really cool because it made me feel excited and happy to work out again. And so I'm going to say, now I'm not going to say I'm going to do a VR workout every single day of the week, right? And again, this is my goal. This doesn't mean that this has to be your goal. But realistically for me, I have not been exercising. I've been doing some walking, but I have not been exercising like I used to. So I'm going to write VR workout 3 times a week. And for me, I think that's realistic, and that's what I want you to do. Like maybe for you, that's 1 time a week. Maybe that's just a meditation. There's no right or wrong answer here. There's no pass or fail. I want you to look at where you're at right now, like what you've actually been doing, and I want you to just bump that up 1%. So a second personal goal for me, okay, I love reading, but I haven't just not taken the time to read. So I'm going to put 10 minutes of reading or 5 pages, and I'm going to say 3 times a week. To me, that feels doable, attainable, and realistic. And then another personal one I might put, so I suck also at drinking water lately, but one thing I found that helps me are those liquid IVs. And so I'll take half of a packet and put it in, I actually have one on my desk, I just got these at Target, one of these big like knockoff Yeti cups. I found that if I just have it on my desk while I'm working, I drink a lot more water throughout the day. So for me, I'm going to say I don't even have to drink the water. I just have to fill my cup and put it on my desk before I'm allowed to drink my coffee in the morning. That's it. I don't want you to keep adding to the list. I don't want you to be like, oh, well, I also want to start lifting. Oh, I also want to do guided meditations. You can only put 3. That's the secret sauce here. Okay, now let's go to business and finance. Now, I know not all of you guys watching this have your own business like I do. So that's why I included finance. So I think that there's this category, there's something that will work for every single one of you guys watching this. So I might give some business examples. If you don't have your own business, maybe you put work examples. Maybe you put a budgeting example, things like that. So just, you can tweak these to make them work for you. So for me, I want to take my kids to Disneyland this year. We've never gone, and I keep saying I want to go, and I don't know why, I just haven't done it. It feels kind of overwhelming to plan it. So I looked into it. For 3 of us, it's going to be about $4,000. What I did, I think I want to go in July, so that's 7 months from now. So I did $4,000 divided by 7, and that's $571 a month, which sounds like a lot. And you might see that and be like, oh, there's no way. So what I like to do is break it down even further. I say, all right, $571 a month is $128 per week, $18 per day. Is there a way that I can look at what I'm spending money on right now that I can either bring in more revenue to get $18 a day or decrease my spending to get that? And again, everybody's in different financial situations. I might say $18. So this is like in parentheses, just as like my reminder why we're doing this. So over here, I'm going to say, all right, $18 a day or $128 per week. Okay. What are some ways I could do? Could I limit myself to only doing 1 Amazon purchase per week? Could I cut out 3 Starbucks trips during the week? Could I do a launch where I bring in more revenue for me or for the company? And I just take a look at that. So for me, I'm going to say I'm only going to do 1 Amazon purchase per week. This might be the hardest one of my whole micro goal. So that would be like a personal finance thing. Now, maybe for you, maybe you have a ton of credit card debt and it feels overwhelming to even look at it. Maybe for you, your micro goal is like, all right, I'm going to just give myself permission to not feel shame over this. And I'm simply going to write out a list of all the different places I have debt. And that's it. You don't even have to tackle it yet. You're just writing it out. Okay. The next thing for me inside my business, I am currently going to be putting out a lot more YouTube videos. So for me, I am trying to do 3 to 4 videos per week, which is a lot. So I'm going to make a goal this week of 3 YouTube videos by Friday. And then the last thing is we are doing a free 5-day challenge later on in this month. And so we're changing some of the slides and what we're teaching in the challenge. And so we've been preparing for that, but there's a couple pieces that I need to go in and just create the content. So I'm going to say slides, and I know what that means. It means for the challenge. All right, so I'm going to set aside 45 minutes times 4 days. Now notice what I'm doing. I'm actually making it easy for me to say, did I do it, did I not? By having like actual tactical like numbers, like data in here. And that's something that I want you guys to do too. Okay, family. Now, some people get hung up on this one because all of us have some kind of dysfunction in our family, or maybe this one's hard for us. Maybe you're single, or maybe your kids don't live around you, or maybe your family's not around. So I just want to let you know, family doesn't have to be the family that you were born into. Family can be your friends. It can be your neighbors. It can be anybody who shows you support in your life. It can be an online community. So you can decide how you want to define family for you for this category. And so for me, I started adding this because I found that when life got too busy, it was easy to like just not do some of these things. And I started reflecting and looking at like, what kind of life do I want to live? And I really want to make sure I'm intentional about creating specific moments with my kids, with my family. So for me, my micro goals this week, I'm going to say, you know what? This is one I used to be really good at and I'm not lately. I'm going to say no phones in the bedroom. I've been having a hard time sleeping, and I think it's because I'm looking at my phone at night. And I'm going to do that 7 days a week. Okay, this is a fun one. So my little nephew is turning 4, and he called and really wanted us to come to his birthday party, but because of other plans, we can't make it. And he lives in a different state. So I had an idea. This is really dorky, but I thought he was like really, really bummed. So I need to figure out how to do it, but I want to send in the mail a cardboard cutout of my kids, because he wanted my kids to go. He didn't care that much about me. So then they can take pictures next to him. I think that'd be really fun, but I don't want to forget to do it. So that's going to be one of my micro goals, is the cardboard cutout. And then the last one is I've really just enjoyed trying to live a simple life with my kids lately. And so we've been playing a lot of board games. We've been turning off electronics and just playing board games. And we're really into Catan lately and chess. And so I'm going to say, I don't care which board game it is, the kids can pick. I'm going to say board game 2 times a week. As I'm writing them down, that's what my micro goals are going to look like. It's not pretty, it's not fancy, and they're seemingly small things, right? Kind of silly, some of them, like the cardboard cutout. But it's really, really important that you pick realistic goals, okay? Now, is you're going to take your micro goals, however you wrote them down, and you're going to put this somewhere that you're going to see it every single day. So when I first started doing this process, my son, I was pregnant with him, my belly was huge, and I just couldn't ever get anything done. And so I started this process, and I hung this on the wall in our kitchen. And people thought it was kind of weird. At first I was kind of embarrassed about it, but I promise you, you need to put this somewhere that you're going to see it every single day. Otherwise you're going to forget, if you're like me. And so if people in your family think you're weird for doing this, just blame me if you need to. Just say, I don't know, I follow this crazy Natalie girl online and she told me to do this, so just blame me. I'll totally take the bullet for that. And so what you're going to do is you're going to get a marker of a different color. I like red. And then as you go throughout the week this week, every single time you do one of your micro goals, you're going to do this. And this is the fun part. You're going to do a big red check mark. So you get one, for me, a VR workout, check mark. I read one day, check mark. Next day, check mark, check mark, check mark. And then all of a sudden, you might be going through your week thinking like, dang, I didn't get very much done today that I wanted to do. And then you look at your board and you're like, actually, I did do the things I said I was going to do, right? I followed through with my micro goals. And instead of feeling like in the past, if you're somebody who's a traditional goal setter or New Year's resolution setter, in the past you might be like, oh, I didn't train for the marathon today. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't really do that marathon. Maybe I'll just have a glass of wine instead, or maybe we'll just watch Yellowstone, or whatever it is for you. But instead you look at the board and you're like, actually, I can do this. Like, I can pop in my AirPods and listen to 10 minutes of a podcast or a book. This is the secret sauce here, is keeping these realistic, because what's going to happen is you're going to start to feel momentum, and you're going to have that excited feeling way, way, way longer than if you set goals that are unrealistic and then you feel like a failure. And a lot of it has to do with the stories we tell ourselves in our head. I failed. I suck. Why can't you do anything you say you're going to do? And all of a sudden we start to believe. And even if you don't consciously believe, your brain will start to think differently and trust that, hey, Natalie said she's going to do something. She's actually going to do it. And so it gives us that momentum, and it makes us feel excited to keep doing it. And then what happens is, once you're done with week 1, what I want you guys to do is go back to your micro goals board, and I want you to say, how did that feel to me? Just assess it. Was that realistic? Did I get the things done I said I was going to do? And if you didn't, don't beat yourself up over it. If you go through this week and you get done and you're like, okay, wait a second, I should have listened to Natalie and made those way smaller. Like, what I put on there was unrealistic. Scale back, scale way back, scale so far back until the point where you're like, this is so easy. There's no way I can't do this. Because the goal here is not to make these leaps and bounds in week 1. The goal is for you to start to trust yourself and trust that you can actually do the things that you say you're going to do. And then what happens is, over time, maybe at the end of the week you say, okay, I think I can do 1% more. Don't do 10% more. You're going to set yourself up for failure. Say, okay, I think I can do 1% more. So maybe I fill 2 water cups on my desk, right? Whatever that looks like for you. So earlier I said I don't want you to set these big goals. That doesn't mean that I don't want you to do big things. I don't want you to do great things with your life or make changes, right? I wouldn't tell you that. But I do want you to set yourself up for success. And so by making small changes each week, we're eventually going to get there. We're just going to do it in a way where we know the direction that we're going. We know the steps that we need to take, and we're doing it in a way that is going to work. My goal here, and this is what I had to learn over the years through way more failures than I ever had successes, is that this is going to do 2 things. One, it's going to make your life better. It's going to enrich the relationships that you have with other people. It's going to help you with your finances, get out of debt, start saving. It's going to help you grow and build your business in a realistic way that makes you feel excited, like you have momentum. But two, this process is designed to teach you how to say something and then actually do it. And so the secret here is that it's not even about the goal. It's not. It's about learning to trust yourself and actually get it done. The goal, the process that we go through is just the process that we go through in order to trust yourself. So I hope that was helpful for you. If you are comfortable, I would love it if you shared your micro goals in the comments here below. It's so fun for me to read those and just see what you guys are doing and building this community here. And I just want you to know I value you. I do. I believe in you. I hope that you got value from this video today. And I know that this might push you out of your comfort zone, but just trust me on this. If you just stick with me, if you stick with this process, you might feel a little bit uncomfortable at times. You might screw it up at times, and that's okay. There's no shame. There's no judgment. So just stick with me. Stick with this. If you like this video, if you want more content like this, make sure to follow along, like, subscribe, and I will see you in our next video.